Imagine you're terrified of needles. Most of us are. Now, imagine a young woman walks up to you and says, "I can change the world with just one tiny drop of blood." No giant syringes. No vials of blood. Just a little prick, like a mosquito bite. And we can tell you if you have cancer, diabetes, or 1,000 other diseases. It sounds like magic, right? Well, that's because it was. This is the story of Theranos, a $9 billion company that promised to revolutionize healthcare, but ended up being one of the biggest frauds in human history. It's a story about a black turtleneck, a deep voice, and a lie so big that even the smartest people on the planet fell for it. To understand how this happened, we have to start with 19-year-old Elizabeth Holmes. She was a student at Stanford, one of the smartest schools in the world. But Elizabeth didn't want to just study. She wanted to be the next Steve Jobs. She wanted to build something that would change the world and make her a billionaire. She had an idea. What if we could shrink a whole blood testing lab and put it into a box the size of a toaster? She called this box the Edison, named after the famous inventor. She dropped out of Stanford, took her tuition money, and started a company called Theranos. In the beginning, everyone was excited. Silicon Valley loves a disruptor. Elizabeth started raising hundreds of millions of dollars. She convinced some of the most powerful people in the world, former secretaries of state, famous generals, and billionaires to join her board of directors. They all thought Elizabeth was a genius. She was on the cover of every major magazine, being called the youngest self-made female billionaire, standing on a mountain of cash. But here is the first big twist. The Edison machine didn't actually work. Behind the scenes, the machine was a mess. It would leak blood, get too hot, and melt its own parts. The results it gave back were wrong. Dangerously wrong. Scientists literally saw monsters in the inaccurate data. But Elizabeth wouldn't let anyone see inside the box. She told investors and partners that the technology was a trade secret. Because she was so charismatic and wore that black turtleneck just like Steve Jobs, people believed her. They didn't want to miss out on the next big thing. Theranos became a fortress of secrets. Employees were siloed, forced to hide the truth while the leadership celebrated fake numbers. Now, you might wonder, how did they get away with testing real people's blood? This is where the story goes from a simple lie to something much darker. Theranos made a massive deal with Walgreens, putting wellness centers in stores everywhere. Patients went there to get their blood tested, thinking it was being processed by the revolutionary Edison machine. But it wasn't. Because the Edison couldn't actually do the tests, Theranos employees were secretly taking the samples and running them on standard, giant machines made by companies like Siemens. But there was a problem. Standard machines need a whole vial of blood, and Elizabeth only had a drop. So, they diluted it, literally watering it down. It was like pouring a gallon of water into a cup of tea just to see if there's sugar. The results were total gibberish, and real people's lives were now at risk. Inside the company, a young man named Tyler Schultz saw the fakes. He tried to talk to Elizabeth, but she brushed him off. He tried to talk to his grandfather on the board, but even his own family didn't believe him. They believed Elizabeth instead. Theranos went to war with Tyler. They sent the enforcer, Sonny Balwani, to threaten him on a dark parking lot. They used lawyers as weapons to silence everyone, but they couldn't silence journalist John Carreyrou. He met whistleblowers in dark cafes to dig for the truth. In October 2015, the Wall Street Journal broke the story. The headline was a bombshell, the big lie. Elizabeth went on television claiming it was all a conspiracy, but the government was now watching. Inspectors showed up at the Theranos labs and found a horrifying mess. Inside the revolutionary box, they found nothing but a brick. Suddenly, the $9 billion valuation evaporated. Partners pulled out, and investors' money went straight into the shredder. Wellness centers closed down overnight. Finally, the law caught up. In court, Elizabeth and Sonny blamed each other in a desperate circle of blame. Elizabeth even brought her new baby to court, hoping for a lighter sentence. But the judgment was final. They were both sent to prison. Elizabeth tried to argue that faking it till you make it is just how Silicon Valley works. But now her turtleneck hangs empty. Her visionary face has faded into digital static. All that's left is a rusted machine buried in the desert, and the glowing ghost of a lie that almost cost everything. The investigation is over. The visionary is gone. The case is closed.